Hello, this is Valerie Aiello, and you're listening to Idea Diary. Thanks for coming back to my office and hanging out. Okay, today I wanted to talk about what maybe to stock up on because of the food shortage, grocery store being a little bit bleak in some sections. And I just wanted to share with you what I'm doing based on Austin, Texas, because of last year with the freeze and kind of losing food in your fridge. I learned a couple things from losing power and having no water for a couple days. And I've never been much of a prepper, but because of that situation, I did learn a few things. And it wasn't too bad. It was kind of like glamping. It wasn't just our power wasn't out for a long amount of time, just by chance. And we did lose water for about 3 days. It wasn't as bad as people that did not have power for days and days and days. So I was a little bit lucky in that scenario, but I did learn a lesson about not buying a bunch of frozen food because I believe your fridge and your freezer are probably okay if the power goes out for about 16 hours, but above that, you really want to start throwing things away, if your power goes out for a long amount of time. I have about a year's worth of food, kind of mostly for inflation. I wanted to, just get the things that I'm going to use in the entire year, no matter what. And not too much of it, not like in a crazy hoarder situation, because I have a very tiny kitchen and just not a lot of space to store a bunch of things. So I have my good amount of toilet paper and paper towels and Kleenex. So I kind of just replace backups as that gets low, but I'm not letting myself go low and then go purchase it. I have like a healthy amount. And a few things I learned to not overbuy is to really read the expiration date on stuff, especially canned goods, because you buy a can of corn, you think it's going to last probably a couple years at least, if not longer than that. And they really don't. The expiration date comes pretty fast if you're not constantly eating your pantry food, which I'm not so good at. So I definitely, as soon as I go grocery shopping, if I buy canned stuff or anything like that, I will write the expiration date on the top of the can or however I'm storing it, like the easy way to just visually see, okay, when does this expire? All right, I've got 3 months to eat this, or 6 months to eat this, or 12 months to eat this. So I got in the habit of, before I put pantry stuff away, to write the date, to actually look for it and write it down, because it just kind of it gets out of your mind when you're not thinking about when that can of beans expires. And by just writing it and making it bold, I don't forget. And I find myself eating a lot more canned stuff, the tomatoes. I would leave them in there forever before I could get to my tomato paste or something like that. So now I'm really focusing on pantry recipes and using that stuff up instead of just letting it sit there. And I'm not keeping too much frozen food. Whatever I'm willing to lose, at least in January, February timeframe, I'm keeping definitely less than $100 of stuff in my freezer. And I'm not, yeah, I'm just not going overboard on the freezer stuff. I keep maybe like 2 or 3 different kinds of meats, frozen meats, and I wanna actually eat it and buy a fresh one, so I'm not getting crazy with the frozen. I am buying way more pantry stuff than I normally ever did, and I'm trying out different things. So, don't buy a lot, but there are a lot of different, there's the old macaroni cheese and pasta and stuff like that. So I definitely keep some of that. I I'll keep a little bit of ramen and stuff like that, and I have a few junk food things, but I'm not like overdoing it. Most of the stuff that I'm buying is like rice and vegetables and stuff that'll make meals instead of just the stuff that's kind of like pre-made meal situation. Another thing I invested in was really good restaurant grade Tupperware that sealed shut, super tight. And they have that at Costco. You could go to Restaurant Supply and stuff like that. And I'm keeping my stuff like baking goods, um, like my cocoa powder and my flour and just sugars and stuff. I'm keeping that sealed in restaurant, like high grade Tupperware, and they're clear so I can see what's in them. And I'm not going overboard buying flour and all that stuff because you think you're going to eat it or get to it, and I'm not going crazy. But I'm definitely keeping it stocked and knowing the expiration date and trying to force myself to eat it. The baking bread situation is not going to happen. I tried. I'm not great at it. So I did buy things like um, the pancake mix. What is that called? The Kodiak pancake mix, where you can use that to make like pancakes and cookies and all different types of baking goods and kind of like sourdough bread sets, like a little kits, like how you would make a cake, like a cake in a box. They have bread kits in a box. And that makes it a little more easy for me, at least. And I'm keeping packages small, so I'm not buying, like, the giant thing of rice, I'm buying little things of rice. And just I feel like if you don't get to things and they do expire, you're not throwing away a gigantic pound of mayonnaise or gigantic pounds of rice or anything like that. You're just throwing away little things here or there, and I'm just kind of loading it up slowly. Not getting, like, Costco size things of rice and quinoa and barley. I'm going small packaging, and I'm trying to keep it in sealed containers as much as I can. Yeah, I'm basically trying to hedge inflation when it comes to food because apparently it used to cost $7,000 to take freight in a semi from the West Coast to the East Coast. And now it's costing between 18 and 22,000 to move that same amount of freight across the country. So I think we all know that the prices are going to explode. I live in Texas, so we have HEB, so I might have a false sense of security, but HEB is amazing and they plan so well. And I don't really feel like there's going to be no groceries in the grocery store, but there's definitely going to be shortages. So if you love something and you can stock it up, I would definitely buy that. So one thing I'm keeping in the freezer is bacon. So I don't cook bacon. Usually bacon's like a topping or added something to a recipe. So if I buy bacon, I usually just freeze it and I cut it into smaller chunks, and I even bag it sometimes to just take that small chunk of bacon to add it to a recipe. But I will stock up on the bacon because I know bacon, whatever the cost of bacon is today, it's probably going to be $1 more next month. Potentially by the end of the year, who knows how much bacon's going to be. So I will keep bacon in the freezer. Apparently, things that were considered luxury that aren't today, things like spices, might be considered luxury items later. So I'm not a big fan of bulk buying spices. I'll even buy smaller amounts of spices from the bulk section because I want it fresh if I'm cooking something. And if I don't use it, I don't want to throw away a whole bottle of cumin because I forgot about it in the back of the pantry. I don't wanna load up on the spices, but the one thing that does last for a long time is vanilla, and I use the Mexican vanilla in the glass bottle, and I don't know if that's available everywhere, but in Texas, we have Mexican vanilla available in our grocery stores. Um, Pet food apparently is gonna be hard to get, so I kind of do half, pre-made pet food with a half of, like, regular pet food that you might buy at the grocery store. Be aware that you might have to have some, like, pet food recipes on hand in case there is no pet food to buy. Like, I don't know how bad that could get, but apparently that's, like, a thing to watch out for. Craft beers and soda. So, like, I love soda, just sparkling water, and so I kinda wait for coupons on the sparkling soda, and I will buy probably more than I can actually use. Um, I hate having a bunch of cans in my, storage of drinks, but I keep it in the laundry room and it's kinda hidden, so I will stock up on that a little bit more than normal. So apparently half and half is going to be hard to get possibly, and so I have a bunch of, pantry powdered creamers that aren't necessarily like Coffee Mate. They have more natural ingredients, non-GMO, organic, and I keep those as kind of a backup if there's no cream to get. So I do oat creamer in my coffee. So I do know how to make oat milk myself, and so I if there is no half and half to get or anything that you could buy at the store for a certain amount of time, I'm kinda covered with that. And the coffee, supposedly coffee and chocolate might be hard to get. So I'm kinda off of the coffee for this year, just testing it out. So I've gone to Tai Chi, Tai Chi, chai tea, and so I kinda stocked up on different I like the Tazo brand of, chai tea, and I haven't made iced chai yet, but and I'm trying out different teas and stuff, so I feel like that does last a while, whereas coffee, you kinda want it fresh, you don't wanna buy, like, a gallon of coffee to last you the year. So there's just little things that I'm pretty prepared for. If I can't get to the grocery store for a month or if they are just out of everything that I want, I'm kind of stocked in some way. And you don't have to do it in a overdone crazy amount of food way. You can do it small and just know like things that were luxury or that we might think of as not being luxury might turn into luxury items. For example, in the 1900s, they used to eat oysters like potato chips, and now oysters are very expensive if you go to a restaurant. And lobster used to be fertilizer and what they would feed prisoners, and now lobster is considered a fancy meal, which some of it's branding, but at the same time, if things are rare to get, things you would not think would be expensive might end up being expensive. So, I guess that is the show for today, and I gonna check the chat because I'm in the melon, I'm live streaming into a few locations. So someone says, "Hi, Valerie." Oh, I think I know who that is. Well, that is the show for today. A light prepper episode, and I will see you later. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Bye.